wasn't sure if I would ever actually tell this story. But at this point, I feel like I'm in a good space and I feel comfortable and ready to let you guys know what's been going on with me for the past year, and more specifically, where I ran off to for the past 4 months. I mean, all I can say is it's been a hell of a year for me. Probably the most difficult year in all of my life, and I've had some doozies in my time. All right, so let's go all the way back to last year, almost 1 year to the day. Back in July of 2021. Now, I didn't share a lot of this publicly. I did do a post on Patreon, and but not a lot of people know that last year I was pregnant. I know all of you guys know about that, but I actually lost the baby. So I was pregnant with a little boy, and I lost him at 19 weeks. I didn't really go into the details of how I lost him, but it was a very traumatic situation. I actually lost him at home. I woke up in the morning, I went to the bathroom, and he started falling out of me on the toilet, was rushed to the hospital, and obviously he didn't make it because he was 19 weeks. After we lost him, we just kind of decided to take some time off. Ryan took 3 weeks off of work, and I took a break from social media, and we just decided to kind of reconnect with each other, reconnect with nature. We went on a lot of walks and just talked and worked through our feelings, because I am the type of person that can very easily fall into a hole, fall into a black pit of despair. And I promised myself and promised my baby that I had lost that I would not let that happen, and that I would not allow his short life here to have a negative impact. I wanted his life here to have a positive impact and a positive ripple effect on me and the people around me. So after we had taken that time to process everything and heal and reconnect with each other and all of that, we went straight into a reno at our house, because we had actually bought a house when I found out I was pregnant. I honestly can't remember at this time, but I think it was shortly after we bought the house, or shortly before, I don't remember. But we were staying with my mom while the work was getting done. And then in November, my dad died. So, this was a really big thing that kind of happened in my life that I didn't come out with publicly. I did talk about it on my Patreon. Again, I don't want to go really deep into that story because I did relive it the first time I told it on Patreon. But my dad was actually killed by doctors. He was, the same story that countless others have experienced. My dad had a seizure at home. He was taken to a hospital where doctors murdered him with a ventilator. I mean, I got to see for myself what's going on in hospitals with these ventilators. I don't want to get into the story, but I do want to say that something else happened on the day he died. I found out that I was pregnant again. So kind of a bittersweet day. I wasn't very close with my dad, but a lot of my family members obviously were. Another thing that I don't really want to get into, but it was kind of a bittersweet day having, people around me very, very distraught and heartbroken over what had just happened. And part of me is just so excited and exhilarated that I had been blessed with another baby. So everything was fine up until about 4 months. I think it was 17 weeks. I go for an ultrasound and they tell me that my cervix is shortening. For those of you who don't know, when you are pregnant, your cervix is closed and it's very long to keep the baby nice and secure in your uterus. Now, me, on the other hand, I have what is called an incompetent cervix. They don't really like to use the word incompetent anymore because it hurts people's feelings. They don't want to know that their cervix is unsatisfactory. It's a little bit stupid, a little bit slow. My cervix is a little bit stupid. My cervix doesn't really know what the fuck's going on when I get pregnant. I'm very, very good at getting pregnant, just not so good at holding on to being pregnant. So, turns out I have an incompetent cervix, or a dynamic cervix is what they call it now instead of incompetent. That's a much nicer word. Oh, it's dynamic. It's interesting. It's quirky. Has no idea what it's doing. So, so I find out that I have an incompetent cervix and that it is shortened enough that they want to give me a cerclage. Now, a cerclage is a stitch. It stitches your cervix closed so that the baby can't fall out, because that's essentially what happens when you have a short cervix. You dilate early and the baby just starts to fall out, which is what happened with my first baby, Noel. So I get this stitch put in, all is well. They send me home. I ask them if I need to be on bed rest, and they say, no, there's no need to be on bed rest because your cervix is stitched now. It's closed. Nothing can happen. You're good to go. So all was well for about 5 weeks. 17, 18, 19, 20, 22. Yes, for about 4 or 5 weeks, all is well. At this point, after getting the cerclage, I'm getting ultrasounds every week or every other week. Just to keep an eye on it. Transvaginal ultrasounds, just to keep an eye on what the cerclage on my cervix is doing. So, went back the next week. Cervix still looks good. It's closed. Cerclage is keeping it closed. Yada, yada, yada. 4 to 5 weeks in, I go back to get a transvaginal ultrasound, and there is a look of fear on the tech's face, okay? Any woman knows that when you go get an ultrasound, they kind of just like... And you're like, dude, just tell me what's going on. So the tech looks a little bit concerned. She says, I need to call in one of the OBs. And have them come take a look at this. So, an OB that comes in that I'd never seen before, she takes a look. She's not happy with what she sees. So, they leave. They're talking about it, just leaving me there. Just, no idea what the fuck is going on. And they come back and they say, you're going to have to head upstairs. Because the way it works there is like you do your ultrasound and then you immediately go up and have your appointment with the high-risk obstetrician. The only thing is you're usually there all day. So they do the ultrasound, then you go upstairs. And Canadian healthcare, okay, I know Americans want our healthcare so bad. You get your ultrasound, you go upstairs, you wait about 7 hours. You sit there for 7 hours and wait for a doctor to come talk to you for 5 minutes tops. So they send me up, and this time the doctor comes to see me right away, which is never a good sign. So doctor comes to see me right away. This is a new doctor. The doctor that had performed the cerclage on me took off. I don't know where she went. She was on a leave of absence. So all of a sudden, there's this new doctor that I've never seen before. And she tells me that the cerclage has failed. And from the ultrasound, it looks as though the baby is falling out. The baby is falling out of my vagina. They can see the baby's foot coming out of my vagina past my cervix. And she tells me this and then says, we're going to do a physical examination to make sure that's what we're seeing, but we're pretty sure that's what we're seeing. So I'm on the table, legs in the stirrups, spread eagle, just bawling my eyes out. It just happened again. Another baby is falling out of me. I am losing my mind. I just know that I'm not even going to be able to make it through another one of these, another experience like this. So she opens me up. She takes a look. Tells me, okay, you can get off you can get up, get dressed, whatever. Comes back in the room, says the baby's not falling out. That's not what they were seeing. The ultrasound tech was mistaken about what they were seeing. Okay, so already I'm raging. Tells me that they're mistaken, and but my cervix is open. My cervix is a little bit open, just enough to put her pinky finger into it, and that at this point I was confused because I thought the cerclage, I didn't think that it could fail. I mean, it's a stitch. I didn't know that it could fail. But she told me that, it was just attached to one side of my cervix. It had opened up and I was a little bit dilated. And that at this point I was too far along because I was, I think, 20 weeks 20 weeks or 21 weeks at the point. She said, we're too far along at this point. There are no further interventions. So just prepare, go home and mentally prepare to birth this baby early. Mentally prepare to birth the baby early and for the baby to be dead, is what she said to me. So I'm beside myself. I'm losing my mind. And also, this is all during like COVID shit too, right? So I had to be in these appointments by myself. My partner could not be with me. I'm literally in the doctor's office, on the phone, telling him what's going on because I can't see him. This was, the funny thing about this appointment was it was also the appointment where you get your like full ultrasound to see the sex of the baby. So the ultrasound tech had put they put like the little colored piece of paper in an envelope for you so that you can bring it back, like so that I could bring it back and open it with my partner, not just by myself. So they had given me that, and then also at the same time told me that the baby was falling out. So I had this envelope and this news. I left the office that day, and we sat in the car. We opened it, and we saw that it was a little baby girl, and we just cried, and we just held each other and cried, and we tried to stay positive. I felt throughout this entire pregnancy that things would be different. I had faith that things would be different. So we held each other, we cried, and we prayed. I know I don't do a lot of praying, but I have in the past year done a lot of praying and really I really believe in the power of prayer. So we did a lot of praying, and we went home. And I immediately went on bed rest. I said to Ryan, this baby's gonna hold on at least until 24 weeks, and that's just the way it is. And I just put any other thought out of my mind about how this was gonna play out. So we go back the following week for another ultrasound, and of course we get the worst news possible. The doctor tells us that my cervix is open more. Again, this is another new doctor, male doctor. He tells us that my cervix is open even more at this point, and the membranes, so the baby sac, are actually visible. After he did the physical exam, he could see that my cervix was open and he could see the sac inside. So he tells me at this point, prognosis is really bad if there are no if there's no further intervention taken at from here. The membranes are just going to prolapse, and then my water's going to break, and I'll probably go into early labor. Now, I don't know where this doctor came from, but I do believe that he was an angel sent to me. I do believe that in my heart. He told me that things didn't look good, but we could do an emergency cerclage. So you can imagine how fucking how much I'm raging to have this doctor in front of me telling me that we could do an emergency cerclage when I just had another doctor telling me that there's nothing they can do, that everything's too risky moving forward, and that I should go home and emotionally prepare to give birth to a dead baby. And of course, this doctor, he's just so beautiful. He's just like, oh no, there's always something you can do. Always something you can do. Nobody can say that there's nothing you can do. Yeah, we do things. Yeah, we can do things. What do you want to do? We can do things. So he tells us we can do an emergency cerclage, but it's a riskier procedure because with my membranes visible, what they essentially have to do is they put you on the bed, they tilt you down, so your head's here, your legs are up in the air, open up your legs, and that's just so that the baby in the sac will push back a little bit, will fall back a little bit, from gravity, and then they stitch up your cervix from there. So, he let us know the risks. He said there is a risk that we could puncture the sac from there, and then you can go into early labor, or you can sit and wait and hope that the baby makes it to 24 weeks or 23 weeks where there's something we can still do. So obviously a very, very difficult decision. I thought about it for a few hours. I sat with Ryan. We talked it over. We prayed, and we decided to go through with it. So I get the second cerclage. I'm lying on the table, I'm like upside down, and they're doing the procedure. The whole time, it's just, time stands still. It feels like the longest procedure in the world. I think it takes like 8 minutes or something, but it feels so incredibly long. And I swear to God, when they tilted me, so what they do is they open you up, and then they push the sac in with a balloon. He explained the procedure to me. They push it up very gently. They can't even touch the membranes, right? Because they can rupture. They push it up, and then they sew. I swear to God, I could feel him shifting the whole baby upward, and then sewing me up. And then he comes around to the side. He comes around to the side of me, and he says, "Okay, everything went well. We're all done. You did great." And I just fucking bawl my eyes out. The first thing I said to him was, "Can you please go tell Ryan, because he's probably a mess out there." Ryan's way more emotional than I am. Even the doctor, anytime I would get really emotional, he would say, "What's wrong with you? You're not the emotional one. He's the emotional one." So I was just worried about how much he must have been freaking out, not being able to be in there with me. So everything goes well, and I'm admitted to the hospital. I stayed there for 5 days so they can keep an eye on me, and everything looked good. The doctor told us it would buy us at least 5 weeks, on average, 5 to 7 weeks. At that point, we were at 22 weeks, so he told us it would buy us probably about 5, 6, 7 weeks. So from there, after being admitted, staying in the hospital for 5 days, we go home. And I am on strict bed rest, okay? I am just lying down all day, losing my mind. It is a lot. Bed rest is a lot. Being on strict bed rest is a lot. People think it's great. Oh, you can read books. You can just catch up on your correspondence. No, you're not going to catch up on your correspondence. It's horrible, okay? Your legs start to seize. Your muscles atrophy. Okay, I have plantar fasciitis from being on bed rest. Anyways, so I'm on bed rest, strict bed rest, and and everything's going pretty well. I mean, as far as it can, there's still the trauma. I remember like me and Ryan's day would not start until I took a shit. Okay, I don't mean to get real graphic. I mean, I do mean to get real graphic. You guys can handle it. Our day would not start until I took a shit because it was the most terrifying. It was just it was just the most terrifying fucking thing ever. Even the doctor, I'd be like, what if I have to go to what about when I have to go to the bathroom? And he was just like, no pushing. Okay, no pushing. Try just no pushing. Don't do it. If you have to go bathroom, just don't push. I'm like, how am I not going to push if I go to the bathroom? So I'm on a stool softener so that like it literally just like falls out of me. And every day of our lives, like nothing started until I took a shit. And then after that, we were like good to go. We were like, we have one more day. At this point, we were counting every day. Every day was a blessing. We were like 22 weeks in one day, 22 weeks in 2 days, 23 weeks. Oh my God. When we got to 23 weeks, we were like, there's a very good chance that the baby will survive. When we got to 24 weeks, we're like, if the baby's born today, there's a good chance she'll survive and there'll be no complications. We'll have a long NICU stay, but there's a good chance that there'll be no complications. And we knew lots of people who had premature babies at 24 weeks who turned out just fine. And then that's when like all your friends start telling you like, oh, I know a person. My dad's sister's babysitter's cousin had a baby at 22 weeks and he's like totally fine. That's when you start getting all those stories, right? So then 25 weeks passes, 26 weeks. And at that point, I can't even believe it. And then somewhere around 26 weeks, I wake up and, we're like doing our morning thing, can't get the day started until I go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom and a lot of fluid starts coming out of my special place. And so I say to Ryan, I say to him, I think my water broke. I think I'm leaking amniotic fluid. And he goes, no, it's probably just pee. And I'm like, it's not pee, okay? I know what pee feels like. I've had a vagina for 36 years. So we rushed to the hospital. I mean, as much as you can. The hospital's like 45 minutes away. They check me and they say, yes, your water's broke. So at this point, I am at 26 weeks. And to me, that was great. I was like, it's not perfect, but at 26 weeks, there's a lot of hope that this baby will be okay. So at that point, I get admitted to the hospital. There are so many things that I didn't know about pregnancy that I think a lot of people didn't know. My own mother didn't know, who gave birth to 3 babies, who had no idea. But did you know that your waters can break and you can continue with the pregnancy all the way to term? A baby can just live inside of you after the when you watch TV and there's the big gush and they go, oh no, I'm having a baby. Then they have a baby 25 minutes later. Yeah, that's not how it works. Your water can break and you can just continue on living your life and the baby just hangs out in there. So my water broke at 26 weeks. I got admitted. So basically at that point, they monitor you every single day while you're in the hospital. And the big issue at that point is just preventing infection, because the amniotic fluid is what keeps the baby from getting any sort of infection or anything like that. So that's what they're monitoring you for. So every day, they're checking your temperature, making sure you have no fever, making sure that, your discharge is not turning green or any weird colors, doing the non-stress tests on the baby, checking its heartbeat, making sure that it's not in distress or anything like that. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks, which, I wish I had filmed some videos of the hospital, because again, for my American for my American viewers who think our medical system is so wonderful, you should see the kind of shit. When I was admitted, okay, I for the first little bit I was staying in a ward, so I ended up getting a private room, but a ward is like a room you share with like 4 other women, and the woman right next to me was telling me where in the hospital I can go to smoke my crack. I'm not even joking. She was like, "Oh yeah, people are so judgmental around here, but like if you want to smoke, if you want to like do your drugs or whatever, there's like a really good spot." And I was like, "I don't do drugs. I'm pregnant. You're pregnant." But yeah, she was like heavily on drugs, and she had no problem telling me about her situation. She was just like, "Yeah, we're just gonna be in the hospital with the baby for a bit because the baby has the shakes and the baby needs to be on morphine because of my drugs and all this shit." Fucked up shit. This is the kind of shit you got to deal with, right? Everybody's the same, equity, okay? So I stay in the hospital for 3 weeks, and then on the 3rd week, I am now at 29 weeks. I wake up and there's a little bit of mucousy blood in my underwear, and I start to feel really heavy in my uterus. Things are starting to hurt. I realize I'm going into labor. So so you know, they kind of just like leave you in the room to go through that until they open up open up another room. I didn't actually give birth in the like birthing room, but then they send you to another room where they put me on what is it, magnesium sulfate, I believe it is. Magnesium sulfate. Is that right? Yeah, I believe that's what it is. You know, and they originally told me that they were going to put me on this magnesium sulfate because it was like something for the baby's brain when the baby's coming out. You know, because the baby was premature. But then, you know, I'm 15 hours into labor, and they tell me, and the nurse comes in and she says, "Oh yeah, well, since we're delaying labor, you know, you could, the baby could stay in for another week." And I was like, "Whoa, what are you talking about delaying labor?" She goes, "Oh yeah, the magnesium sulfate's to delay labor." And I was like, "Oh, is it? So I'm sorry, you're expecting that I might be in labor for 1 week? I'm going to be giving birth for 1 week? Like, I understand we need to keep the baby in as long as possible, but at what point is this some kind of new form of Chinese torture? Can you be in labor for a week? What happens when I need to start pushing? How am I going to push after being in labor for 1 week?" So, it's kind of crazy. And, you know, I'm a pretty strong person, a strong-willed person. If they had told me we were delaying labor from the beginning, I probably would have been fine for it and mentally prepared myself. But they told me 15 hours in that we were trying to delay labor. Here I am trying to think of, like, different positions I can be in to get the baby out faster. They're telling me that they're delaying labor, which, by the way, you can't really be in any different positions, because when you're in this like high risk category where you're giving birth to a premature baby, you're hooked up to like 5 million different monitors and things like that. So you have to just like be in labor, just completely just stiff, lying there like a fucking mummy. You can't move. So that's 15 hours in. It ends up taking me 30 hours. Okay, I'm in labor for 30 hours. I tell the doctor, you know, they told me as soon as you feel like taking a shit, that's when you're, another thing nobody told me. I thought when you were like ready to push, you felt like your uterus, like you felt like you had to push from your vagina. No. You feel like you gotta take a shit. That's what happens. You feel like you gotta take the biggest shit of your life. And, you know, obviously I'm feeling all of it because I didn't do an epidural or anything like that because mama didn't raise no bitch. So, I tell them I feel like I have to take a shit. We go into the operating room. I wanted a home birth, okay? And I thought this was very ironic and kind of funny. I mean, ironic in the Alanis Morissette way. It's not really ironic, but I wanted a home birth, a home water birth. I ended up giving birth in a fucking operating room with 2 horrendous doctors fighting over my vagina, fighting with each other over my vagina. One of them is finger blasting me, okay? I don't know if you guys know what giving birth in a hospital is like, but it is 100% a sexual assault. It's the only Me Too. You want to have a Me Too movement? Let's talk about what happens to women when they give birth in a fucking hospital. That's a Me Too fucking moment. This woman comes in, she fucking sticks her fingers up and just stirs up my insides, okay? And I can hear it. I could hear it. I could hear her stirring me up inside. She tells me, oh, I'm just checking to see how dilated you are. She's not checking to see how dilated you are. She's fucking shit up to speed up the process, okay? It's sexual assault. So I go into the OR. They're asking me to push. I'm like telling them I don't really feel like pushing, and the way they're asking me to push is very unnatural, to lie on your back and do whatever the fuck they want you to do, which, I actually just learned that the reason we give birth like that is because it's easier for them to observe. There's absolutely it's not medically necessary. It's not beneficial. It's the worst possible way you could give birth. Worst position. It's just so that they can have a better view of what's going on. So, one of the doctors is sticking her finger up there. She's telling her, "Oh, I still feel a little bit of the sac." The other one's like, "Drop it. There's nothing left inside of her. Okay, we're getting this baby out." So they're fighting over my vagina. Then they're telling me to push, and I'm pushing, and they're like, "Oh, she doesn't even seem ready. She doesn't even seem ready to push." So they're talking shit about me while I'm giving birth. Just a beautiful, relaxing experience, right? So, I'm pushing, and then they tell me the baby is stuck in your birth canal. She's under distress. She's not breathing. We need to get this baby out now. This is something, later on I learned that this is something that doctors like to do to speed up the process so that they can go to fucking Chipotle before it gets too late, okay? They tell you the baby's gonna die so that the will of the Lord comes over you and you push so fucking hard your asshole prolapses. I mean, thankfully that didn't happen to me. I did in the moment, but I mean, it's all good now. But that's why they do that. So they tell me the baby's in distress. I'm fucking pushing and shaking and fucking doing everything I possibly can to get this baby out. Finally, I feel myself open up. The baby slides out for what felt like an eternity. Felt like a fucking snake coming out of there. The baby comes out. They say the baby's out. Take a look at her. I look over. I mean, the creepiest looking thing in the fucking world. Ryan put it in a really good way. He said she looks like Jimmy Hoffa after he's been whacked and floating around in the ocean for a couple of months. Because that's what babies look like when they first come out. They're absolutely terrifying, but I mean, in the moment, they're so beautiful. She was so fucking beautiful. She was breathing so well on her own, which was something they said might not happen. Because, one of the big things with premature babies is that their lungs need a lot of help. Their lungs are underdeveloped, so they do need breathing support. But she looked great. She was breathing really well on her own, so they immediately wrapped her in this little fucking plastic bag, and they took her away. So now I'm on the table. I'm traumatized. I had just gone through months of bed rest, and I'm lying there, and they've taken my baby away. They can't put the baby on you because it's too small, which I can't even express to you how horrible of a feeling that is. And I'm just like, when can I see my baby? When can I see my baby? When can I see my baby? They said, as soon as you're ready, you can go and see the baby. The baby's ready. As soon as you're ready, you can go see the baby. I just jump off the fucking table. They're all like, whoa, relax. And I'm just like, get the fuck away from me. I want to go fucking see my baby. So I go and see the baby, and she's so perfect and beautiful. 2 pounds. She was 2 pounds, 4 ounces, which is less than 2.5 pounds. Just the tiniest little thing, and so perfect. But she's got the CPAP on, and you can't even see her face. So she immediately goes into the NICU. 29 weeks, she goes into the NICU, and for I don't know how long it was that I couldn't even see her face. This CPAP mask over her face. All I could see was her little lips, which were so beautiful, her perfect, beautiful little lips. And yeah, we began our journey in the NICU. Um, for anybody who's had a premature baby or had a baby, a sick child or a baby in the NICU, like only you can understand how horrendous it is. Having to leave your baby in somebody else's care, and every time you have to leave, and the crying and the guilt every time you have to leave, just unspeakable. It's just something I can't even explain. But she was doing really, really well on her own. My little champ, she was doing so well. And so we spent 3 weeks in the NICU in the children's hospital. And I had said to Ryan right from the get-go, we're not going to focus on when we can leave, because we asked how long they think we'll need to be in the NICU, and they told us if she does well, at this point you're still just like waiting for the baby to be stabilized. But they said if everything goes well, she'll be leaving right around term. So that means we were looking at a 3-month stay in the NICU. And I said to Ryan, if I keep thinking about that finish line, I'm going to go out of my mind. So what we're going to do moving forward is we're going to focus on milestones. Okay, that's all we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on weight gains, and we're going to focus on her CPAP coming off. We're going to focus on those milestones, and we're not going to think about the finish line, because I will lose my fucking mind. So that's what we did in the first I believe it was she was in like the acute area for 2 weeks, and then she moved to like the transitional area, where it's like in between being in like the acute area and then like the very stable babies that are doing fine. So we ended up moving to that area, and something really beautiful happened. So we were staying, because this place is like an hour from our house. We ended up actually staying at the Ronald McDonald House. It's actually so beautiful. It's it's almost like a really nice hotel. They give you 3 meals a day. It's all fucking carbs, but 3 meals a day when you're in that situation is very, very welcome. But we were staying in the Ronald McDonald House, which we ended up, you end up saying Ronald McDonald so many fucking times. I'm like, how many times as an adult woman can I say Ronald McDonald? So we ended up calling it the Clown House. So I would always say to Ryan, I'll see you back at the fucking Clown House. But we ended up staying there, and when she had been when she got transferred over to the transitional area, every day when I would walk back and forth from the Clown House, I would pray. I would pray to God, and I would pray to my baby Noel, and I would say, please take care of your sister. When I can't be there with her, please take care of her. Make sure none of these fucking doctors or nurses do anything to her, because it's really, really hard when you're in the NICU. I don't want to speak ill of anyone. Like, so many of the nurses were so beautiful and made the experience easier, but you would have a different nurse every shift. So every 12 hours you would have a different nurse, and it was like almost never the same nurse. So just during the first couple of weeks while we were there, we had maybe like 30 or so nurses just in 2 weeks, which is horrible, because every time you leave, you're like, I have to leave my baby with a little bit with this person, a new person every time, right? And sometimes they'd be really bad and they'd be really neglectful, and you'd have to stay there all day, and you couldn't leave, you couldn't take your eyes off of her for a second. And then sometimes you would get like the one nurse that you like, and you would get her like just the 2 times, and you'd be like, oh, thank God I get to like sleep a little bit because you're here. So it was really, really hard. So I prayed to God and to my baby Noel, and I said, please take care of my baby. Please take care of your baby sister when I can't be there. And then, so what I would do is a big thing with premature babies is kangaroo care. You want to be in there holding your baby as much as possible. So I would hold her for 8 hours a day, which was basically as much as they would let me. So one night I had gone in for, to do my 4-hour hold. And I was holding her, and I started dozing off a little bit. And I must have fell asleep for maybe 5 minutes. And when I came to, I heard 2 nurses talking about the baby just next to us. So this was her first night there. It was her first night next to this other baby that was next to her. And I heard the 2 nurses talking, and I heard her say, "Oh, his name's Noel. That's a cute name. I've never heard that name before." And I was just blown away. I had just prayed to my baby to look after his little sister, and we're there, and there's this baby Noel that's next to her. I was just so mind blown. I was so mind blown. I'm like, that's just divine. I don't need any more evidence that my baby is somewhere listening to me, listening to us and watching over us and watching over his little sister. And when he died, I remember thinking to myself, and I also posted about it. I said, I don't know why he couldn't be with us in this lifetime, but I do feel like time will tell. And I feel like that night, he gave me the answer I had been looking for, that he had to leave so that his baby sister could be here and so that he could take care of her. But that was one of the most beautiful moments of my whole life, waking up to that. Anyways, so we were at the hospital in the NICU for 3 weeks, and then we got transferred to a hospital closer to home. And we were at that hospital for 3 weeks. So all in all, we were in the NICU for 41 days. By the time I had gotten back home, by the time I was home and home full time, I had not been home and living in my house since April. I had been living in the hospital and living in the clown house and kind of going back and forth from home to the hospital for so long that I couldn't even remember what it was like to have a home, to sleep in my bed, to do any of that. So after 41 days, longer than that, after 3 weeks, the 3 weeks that I was admitted in the hospital, and then after labor, 3 weeks in the NICU at the Children's Hospital, 3 weeks in the nursery at the hospital near us, we finally got to take our baby home. Not at full term. We got to take her home much earlier. She was 4.5 pounds when we took her home just a couple of weeks ago, and we've just been settling in. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you my little baby face.
Say hi, baby. Say hi. Oh my gosh, you're so tired.
Isn't she so precious? Isn't she the most precious thing in the world? Anyways, she is now 6.5 pounds. She just reached 6.5 pounds. She's huge. This is the hugest baby in the world to me, okay? This baby was 2.5 pounds. Baby was 2.5 pounds. She was so tiny. I could hold her like this. All right, guys. I guess that's it. I felt bad that it had been so long, and I didn't feel comfortable with sharing the story until now. And I just finally feel like we're in a happy, comfortable place to be able to talk about it. Expect more videos from me, because I'm finally getting into a flow. I know what you guys are gonna say. Once you get into a flow with a baby, she's gonna switch all the motherfucking shit up on you. But yeah, I will be producing more content moving forward, and hopefully I won't have to disappear on you guys again, because to be honest with you, I really don't think I'm ever gonna fucking get pregnant ever again. I don't think I'm ever gonna have another baby. It's just too much work for me and my incompetent cervix. My really, really slow, stupid, incompetent cervix. My sister tells me all the time not to talk about my cervix like that because of water memory, and I'm hurting my cervix feelings, but like, my cervix hurt my feelings, you know what I'm saying? I think it's only fair for me to insult it. Look how cute she is. Look how cute she is. She's so tired. She's not tired. Okay, I will see you guys all soon. Thank you for listening, for those of you who made it through this long ass video. All right, guys, I'll see you all soon. Bye.